Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to IR4U Series 10, the big program Catalyzing Corporate Innovation, presented in collaboration with Cradle Fund. The Bengkel Inovasi GLC, or in short BIG, program is a strategic initiative under the Economy Madani vision, supported by the MOF and MOSTI, aimed at accelerating corporate startup collaboration and driving innovation-led growth in Malaysia. BIG empowers companies to work with startups, adopt cutting-edge technologies, and strengthen Malaysia's economic competitiveness. Today's session begins with an introductory briefing by Jonathan Lee, the project lead of BIG at Cradle Fund, who will share the program structure, timeline, funding mechanism, and grant submission guidelines. So we are very happy to have Jonathan here today as well. Jonathan is a seasoned leader with over 25 years of experience spanning finance, healthcare, education, and technology. A graduate of the Otago School of Business, he has built startups, scaled listed companies, and raised capital for the VC firm. Today, he helps large companies innovate, grow, and attract investment, driven by strong teams, solid business models, and sharp execution. His introductory briefing will then be followed by a panel discussion moderated by Samira and featuring distinguished panelists. We have Alex G, the Chief Information Officer at SP Setia, Moji, Associate Partner from IBEX Southeast Asia, and Nafil, Head of Group Technology Planning and Future Networks from E.co. These are GLCs from the big cohort, from the first big cohort, alongside their venture builder partners. They will share insights from their innovation journeys and collaboration experiences. So thank you for joining us. Later, if you have questions, please drop them in the chat box below, and we'll address them during the Q&A session. So without further ado, let me pass the floor to Jonathan. Jonathan, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Meichi, and thank you, Bursa, for coordinating this event for Cradle Fund. So we have quite a lot of information to share this morning, and I'm also mindful that today is Friday, so some of you guys may be heading off to Friday prayers. So I will start the presentation shortly. Just to reiterate what Meichi has mentioned, if you have any burning question, please feel free to type into the Q&A or the Q&A segment right at the bottom of Zoom, and we will address it during the Q&A session after the panel session has ended. So good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Jonathan, and I'm from Cradle Fund. For those who are not familiar with our organization, Cradle Fund is a MOF incorporated owned company. We work with the early stage startups ecosystem, where we help entrepreneurs who are fundraising to build basically their ideas into a full-fledged startup business. So a lot of times, if you look in this slide, a lot of times the type of programs we design and the funding programs that we offer are targeted solely for companies at their earlier stage. So you may be wondering why Cradle Fund, an early stage ecosystem player, is talking to some of the largest public listed companies on Bursa today. Well, interestingly enough, we've been given a mandate by the Ministry of Finance to actually help large corporate do radical innovation in the same way a startup would innovate. How that works, I'll share a little bit more in detail. So let's go through the overview of our pilot program, which is known as Bengkel Inovasi GLC, or the BIG program. So when we were designing the program, we looked at different corporate innovation model, and we settled on what is known as an open innovation model for corporation, where we bring together different stakeholders to help corporation do radical innovation a lot quicker than business as usual stuff, right? So why the government is supporting a project like this is partly because in Malaysia, although we do have a lot of startups and SME, the economy is solely supported by these largest corporation. So our belief is by helping the largest corporation innovate faster, we could actually add value back to the economy through spillover effects, right? So when we started designing this program, we brought together different key stakeholders that could actually play a role in this journey. So later in the panel session, you will meet two current cohort members as well as a venture builder partner that's helping guide this corporation build innovation within their organization. And this is not just solution, but also processes to allow them to move as fast as possible at a similar speed to what a startup would be. And also along the way, we will bring together, say, technology specialists from early stage companies like startup and SME to support the corporation as they build their innovation to address some of the challenges that they're facing. I won't share too much detail about the pilot program, partly because the panel session will be sharing more details on their experience. But suffice to say, in this first pilot cohort, we had a lot of interest. In fact, we had about 24 companies participating, of which 8 were selected for the funding and the support from the program. If you were to Google Bengkel Inovasi GLC today, you will find a whole host of different media coverage and articles on the program. Again, this slide will be shared with you guys, so don't worry about taking any notes. Some of the questions that you have will be again answered a little bit later. Now, we have had a fantastic journey through our pilot, and we are in the process of launching our version 2.0. The program will no longer be known as Bengkel Inovasi GLC. It will just be known as the big program. Why the big program? Partly because we're working with some of the largest companies in Malaysia. Now, in terms of intention or niat, as we call it, it's still pretty much the same. We want to help large corporations in Malaysia innovate faster because, again, these corporations, if they are successful in this journey, there will be economic, social spillover effects for the country. As such, we want to double down for next year in helping more companies go through this journey. So our core objective, again, is to catalyze corporate innovation, both in terms of technology development as well as the type of processes that needs to be in place or adopted by this corporate to allow them to innovate faster. Then, of course, we'll focus on the economic and social spillover effects for the country. We will provide funding to take away some of the risk that the corporation will face as they go through this innovation journey. And last but not least, we will match you with startups. Now, why is it important for startups to work with corporations today? Is because the startups themselves are working with technology that could add value to the company. So basically, the corporates are leveraging already on existing capabilities, existing solution to allow them to leapfrog certain development, right? So that is, in principle, what we want to do and offer to the corporations that are here today in this session. In terms of our strategy and target, let's be honest with ourselves, we are using taxpayers' money. So a lot of times when we work with the private sector, there needs to be some form of alignment from your own strategic roadmap, whether it's 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, back to, say, the government's economic framework. So if you are not familiar with the Madani economic framework today, I would recommend that you Google this and read up on what are the key areas that the current Malaysian government is looking to support. So for Cradle, we work closely with the startup ecosystem roadmap. And as part of this ecosystem roadmap, one of the things that we look at will be to bridge startups to corporation. However, there are a ton of different type of roadmap and master plan that will cater to different industry. So the real estate and construction industry have one, energy would have one. In this slide, we mentioned the new industrial master plan, which is under MITI, looks at the IR 4.0 technology development in that space, as well as how we can grow new deep technology within the Malaysian ecosystem. So that alignment is extremely important in how we pick and select, these companies for our funding. One of the other things that we will look at is the strategic innovation back into the companies itself, right? So as I mentioned, most of you guys will already have some form of strategic roadmap. We want to see how we can supercharge this roadmap by bringing plans that could be 5 or 10 years away to now, right? So that you can work at it now. You don't have to wait 3 years, 5 years to focus on this particular solution, because the government is supporting you by providing funding, matching funding to take away some of the risk, and also support services through agencies like Cradle. Now, we are industry agnostic, so we're not focused on industry, but there are certain themes of technology and innovation that we will look at. So now, in today's era, everyone talks about AI and advanced computing. That's very much at the forefront. However, it's not the only thing that we will look at. We will also look at other areas of technology. And again, this is aligned back to both our super roadmap as well as the new industrial master plan. So things like energy and power system, digital infrastructure and cybersecurity, automation and robotics, sustainability and climate solution. This is a very important component, because if you are a listed co today, ESG is a very big focus area for some of the listed co's. And then last but not least, advanced materials and manufacturing. These 6 areas, we hope to be a catch-all, but it's not the means to an end. If you have a radical innovation that you're focusing that could change the ecosystem or the landscape or your industry, feel free to talk to us as well. We would be, open to learning more about the opportunity that you present, and perhaps we could even come in and fund and support these areas. In terms of the target companies, as I mentioned in our previous program, the version 1.0, it was called Bengkel Inovasi GLC. Now, as the name suggests, we were very much focused on GLC companies. However, for next year, for 2026, as part of our new program, we have widened the ambit a little bit, right? So today, if you are a public listed company with revenue of more than 500 million ringgit per year, you can already apply to this program. Currently, we have listed it as Bursa's main board only, but we are talking to our stakeholders to allow other listed areas like ACE or LEAP to also be considered. We have not gotten the approval yet, but if we get the approval, we will share with you guys. But currently, as per our mandate, only Bursa main board listed companies with 500 million revenue and above can apply to this particular program. But if we are not quite there, say you are doing, say, consistently over the last 3 years, 495 million, 499 million ringgit per annum, don't fret, come and talk to us. Again, if your proposal is very, very strong, we will still do our best to make a case to our stakeholders. We are also still having a mandate to support government-linked companies. So I believe a lot of companies that are listed on Bursa are also government-linked companies. So if you are a GLC today, this is a perfect program for you guys. Come and talk to us. We'll be able to share more on how we can support, not just on funding, but also on supporting you throughout your innovation journey. Last but not least, this is the last minute entrant from our stakeholders, because again, this is an MOF program. We can also fund what is known as MKD companies. Basically, these are companies that are owned directly by MOF Incorporated. So example of companies in this space will be the likes of Prasarana, IJN. These are all companies that are not listed, but they are directly owned by MKD, but they do meet the revenue criteria that we look at. I also would like to share a little bit about the grant structure and the program pillars. So, as mentioned, we do have a funding program that aims to reduce some of the risk that the corporates will, undertake as they go through this innovation journey. So, it's a one-to-one matching for large corporations seeking to actually do radical innovation. Now, on our side, we have up to 2 million ringgit per company for the one-to-one matching. So if you are a company today, if you want to access up to 2 million ringgit, your entire project cost has to exceed 4 million ringgit. So basically, for every ringgit you spend on your innovation project, we can subsidize 50 cents of it. So it's a one-to-one matching, right? So this is a very generous offer from the Ministry of Finance, partly because they also understand that the more radical the innovation, the higher the risk. So they want to actually, incentivize more corporation, especially the largest companies in Malaysia, to undertake this radical innovation. So that is what we are currently offering for the grant structure. In terms of the program pillars, there are four key areas. Number one is a strategic partnership, where we can actually bring in different stakeholders into the program. So we encourage them. So we don't want just a corporation that have received our funding to just work in silo. We want to encourage them to work with venture builders, with tech specialists, with startups, as they are building their, innovation journey. We want to influence. Number two, we want to influence and embed the culture of innovation within a corporate environment. So later on, the two panelists will be sharing on how they've been able to, modify and improve certain processes to allow innovation to happen quicker within their organization. Then thirdly, we look at industry positioning. We do not just want to build Jago Kampong, right? We are not interested in making a corporate who is working on a technology just solely for themselves. A lot of the cohort one, in fact, all of the cohort one participants today, the solutions that they are building can cross different boundaries, not just to different companies, but different industries, right? So we are looking for a technology that can really scale and change potential landscape in different industry, not just their own industry. And last but not least, we hope that with the more with the engagement with the private sector and the different stakeholder, we can build a richer ecosystem that will allow more innovation to flourish along the way. So these are our four program pillars. And how it looks like is like this. So I've just verbalized this particular visual in terms of program structure, and these are all the key areas or key stakeholders that will be playing a role in the upcoming big program. So of course, we have strong government support. We are working with Bursa as well as MOF, but indirectly through MOF, we have access to the various GLICs, the investment firms, who are constantly, deal flowing corporations, particularly the corporations that they have invested in, to us, so that we can actually help this company scale. But if you are not invested by one of the GLCs, don't worry. Again, if you are a public listed company on the main board today with 500 million revenue, you can still apply to us, and we will still offer you the same funding and services as the other GLCs that have received the funding. We will also be bringing together a directory of different tech specialists and innovation specialists. These are part of the support organization. Monji, who is in our panel today, is from Antler. He's one of our shortlisted venture builders to help the largest companies in Malaysia scale their innovation. But there are other players as well. The logos that you see there are our shortlisted from cohort 1. However, this is not the exhaustive list. We are still building on this list. If you are interested, come and talk to us. We'll be able to share more details on who are some of these venture builders and how they can assist you. Last but not least, of course, there are different specialists. We encourage the corporations to work closely with tech specialists. So we will always advocate startups and SMEs, but they don't have to be the only one that you work with. You can work with subject matter experts from academia. You can work with even consulting firms that may have access to know-how to help you, build your solution throughout this funding period. Now, I also want to bring your attention to the timeline below. So we are currently at the awareness period, but the timeline will flow after the awareness period. It will go into a onboarding, then development phase and implementation phase. Now, there's not very many information here, but if you look at this particular slide, it will explain a little bit more detail about how the entire journey would look like. So this is an example of one cohort for our next year's program. We are currently already in December. In fact, the team and I have worked tirelessly to start building awareness for the BIG 2.0 program, right? Hence today's presentation. However, if you are interested, we will share a QR code later where you can actually apply to come to some of the workshops that we will be running in January. So this is part and parcel of the pre-onboarding process. And after the workshop, if you are interested, then you will submit a proposal and that will form the onboarding process. Once you are selected for the funding, you will go through the development phase where you can start working with subject matter specialists, the support organization to build the solution. And finally, once you have built either a prototype or an MVP, you will test it either within a sandbox environment or within a live environment. Then subsequently, when the project is ended, we will begin the monitoring period. So this is an overview of how a single cohort would look like. However, next year we have 3 cohorts. So at each quarter, there will be a call for submission and a call for interest to attend the workshop. So each of these particular cohort will end in cohort 1, cohort 2, in quarter 1, quarter 2, and quarter 3. So there are 3 cohorts that you can apply to. However, I must say that is a first come, first serve basis. So the team and I are working tirelessly to make sure that we can get strong early submission for cohort 1 and even cohort 2, right? If the funds have been exhausted or committed for the project, I will no longer be able to fund additional companies, then I will no longer need to run cohort 3. So if you are interested today and you think you are ready, apply early because it's, the application is taken on a first come, first served basis. Now, when you're applying for the program, there are 2 tracks that you can undertake. Track 1 is a corporate startup partnership. It's a very common, strategy that most corporations look at when they look at partnering with, say, innovation specialists or startups. Basically, you have a problem statement and you can source for startups who has the right solution to solve your problem statement. Then between these 2, you negotiate whether it's a licensing deal or whether it's a subscription deal. Is entirely up to you and the startup. So these are very straightforward corporate innovation track. The one that is less common is the co-development track or track 2. This is where you have a problem statement, but you are unable to find, say, solutions that are readily available to address your problem statement. So if that is the case, then you will be required to build. Now, you don't have to build it on your own. You can build it or co-develop it with people who have certain knowledge to assist you in this development. So this track is less common, more complicated. However, it's a lot richer. It's a lot richer. Why? In the sense of the type of technology they are building, because it's very focused on problem solving for a large problem set within your industry. So these are the two tracks that are on offer. If you are interested to again apply for our program, but don't worry, you don't have to pick them straight away. What you need to do is to have a rough idea, talk to us, and the team will actually guide you on what is the best way forward, whether it's track 1, track 2, or combination of track 1 and 2. This is how the development timeline flows. I've mentioned some of it already in the earlier slide, but this just gives a little bit more details on the different timing within the development phase. So you could spend 1 month maybe fine-tuning your problem statement and then starting to scope and scout for potential startups that can actually solve your problem. And this could take 1 to 3 months, right? Depending on how big or how wide the problem statement is, right? And then once you've narrowed down on the suitable startup to work with, whether on track 1 or track 2, you go into a pre-acceleration or acceleration stage where you start to kind of design and develop the solution that can address your problem statement. And then once that's been developed, you go into a POC stage where you're piloting and testing again this solution in either a sandbox environment if it's highly regulated, or in a live environment just before you're ready to go to market. So this again is a high overview of the sort of like the development timeline for those who are successful in getting the funding. So in terms of your submission prerequisites, before you submit a full proposal to us, we would love to see the following 5 criteria being met. So number 1, you must already be very clear on what sort of problem you want to be solving. Now, it doesn't have to be the final problem statement, but at least when you're submitting to us, it is maybe an unrefined problem statement. So at least we are clear on the areas that you're going to be focusing on. Right? Number 2, you must already have some resemblance of a technology or innovation committee. Now, for companies who are very mature in innovation that we have worked with, companies like Tenaga, for example, like even SP Setia today, they all already have some form of technology or innovation committee embedded into the organization. If you have it, it's great. It's a bonus. Try to get it done before you actually apply for the or submit your proposal. But if you can't get it done, at the very least, have top management or board buy-in at the point of submission. Because we do not want you to apply, then only you ask for permission from your board or from your management to actually undertake this particular program. So have that in place when you are actually submitting the proposal. Number 3 is the project team structure. Of course, like any project, you need to tell us who are the key individuals or the key personnel that's going to be leading this program, right? It cannot be just because it's innovation, everything is lumped under the innovation team. A lot of the teams that we work with in the current cohort have a multidisciplinary team from different departments of their organization. There's somebody from technology, there's somebody from the different business units that they are serving, there's somebody who is from the legal team, there's somebody from the financing team, partly because all of these individuals will help plan, execute, and report the information back to us, right? So this team is extremely important for us when we are considering the proposal for the funding. Number four is who are some of the partners you're going to be working with? I know for some of you, you may not have think about it, but suffice to say that we wouldn't want you to start the project if you have not thought about who are some of the stakeholders that will be involved in the program itself. Now, these partners could be the venture builders that you work with. It could be startups that you're already working with, but you want to work on new projects with them. It could be even different subject matter experts that you know that could add value to the project as you're building it. So we want to know who are some of these partners. And then last but not least, certain document submission. Now, if you are interested, you come to our workshop. We will be submitting our draft agreement for your consideration as well, so that you can review it early with your legal team, right? I know certain companies here will have a very long governance process where they are looking at funding and projects to do. So we hope to kickstart this as early as possible. When you register the interest, you come to our workshop, we will be sharing legal documents for you guys to review and for you guys to talk it out with your legal team before you submit the final proposal to us. So these are the five prerequisites you need to submit if you are looking at get a chance of getting our funding and our support. Now, in terms of how we look at a proposal and how we score a proposal, there are five key areas. Now, they are not all of them will have the same weightage. It's the weightage is already shown here. The top three most important component to us are vertical business growth and innovation process, and this is 25%. While they're equally heavy on the first three, each of them are 25% in terms of weightage. So vertical business growth and innovation process, we want to see whether this solution or that you're building can add value to your company and also improve the innovation process within your organization. Number two is the financial impact. As I mentioned, we are trying to, create economic spillover effects from this project. So we want to see, when you are building a solution that could lead to potential new business opportunities, how big are these business opportunities, right? Is it gonna increase your, revenue by 10x, 50x, 100x? Tell us, because we do have companies in our cohort one that has excellent multiple returns on the type of funding we are giving to them. But on average, I don't mind sharing, is around 20 times to 30 times value created for every single ringgit spent. Number three, we want to see certain economic impact back to the country. So this economic impact could be, high value jobs created, number of employment created, right? Reduction of certain, say, risk to the nation. Those are all impact that we will look at in terms of how your proposal will be structured. The other two smaller weightage will be the type of technology that you are building. Of course, if it's frontier technology, it's something that we will love to see more of. However, it shouldn't be the main focus. The main focus should be the top three first. The frontier technology and the risk assessment side will be something we take into consideration, particularly if there is technology that you're working on that may require, say, regulatory intervention. So if you are a finance company today and you are working on, say, certain blockchain application that will require, say, Bank Negara approval, we will actually support you to connect to Bank Negara, and together we can design a sandbox to allow your solution to be tested in a safe environment. So we'll take those into consideration when we are also evaluating your proposal. And that's last but not least, we will also take into consideration any ESG, and social impact from your project. So these are all five sort of like considerations that we will look at when we are evaluating your proposal. Now, it's important to say that we do not compare apples to apples when we look at the proposal. So each proposal will be rated based on their individual merit. Now, in our cohort one, SP Setia is one of the members of our cohort one, but we also have Sun Dabi Property in our cohort one. So these two are some of the largest real estate companies in Malaysia. Now, we evaluated both proposal on their own merit and saw benefit in the proposal enough for both of them to get into the program. So each of the proposal you submit will not be compared to another proposal. It will be rated based on the strength of the individual proposal itself. So that's something that I wanted to highlight. So we could end up having, say, maybe 2 or 3 banks in one cohort, or 2 or 3, real estate in one cohort. So that is something that is quite different about our program. So in terms of the grant guidelines, there are allowable and non-allowable expenses. I won't go through too much detail because I'm running behind in time. Anything that are related to the development, directly to the development of the solution, can be categorized as allowable expenses, right? For those that are not directly related to the development of programs, you can't use it. You can't use our funding for, right? This is not the exhaustive list. We will share the exhaustive list with those who are interested in coming to our workshop. There's probably the guideline will probably have 2 to 3 pages of what you can and cannot use our funding for. So take note that there are certain things that we can fund and others that we can't. But again, we will share more details for those who are interested to come to our workshop. Now, I mentioned workshops so many times. So this is what we're planning for January. In January, we will run a workshop for those who are interested in applying to our proposal. You are required to send your team to this 1-day workshop before the submission of the proposal. This particular workshop is focused on helping you, define further your problem statements. It is not a workshop where I teach you about problem statement. It is a workshop where the team and I will help you look at your problem statement, poke holes in your problem statement, ask relevant questions on why you're focusing on this problem statement. So it is a workshop for you to work on your problem statement. We are, again, not here to teach you on how to do a problem statement. We are here to pick apart your problem statement. And if it's the best problem statement, at the end of the day, those problem statements will be taken into consideration as you submit your proposal for funding. And then subsequently, after the workshop, we will touch base with you, independently or one-on-one to follow up to make sure that you're working on your proposal properly before the submission of the proposal. Now, with that, I'm going to end my session here and pass the mic to Samira, who will actually be running the panel session. But in the meantime, if you can take a snapshot of this, for those who are interested, you can scan the QR code and start submitting your interest for the workshop to us. Samira, over to you.
Hey, thank you, John. Thanks for sharing earlier. Okay, let me see if all my panels are here. Okay, hi everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So let me just introduce myself. I am Samira. I am the Innovation Ecosystem Manager for Big Program at Cradle Fund. And today, actually, we will be talking about with a few of our cohort member from cohort 1. And as you've heard earlier from John, the big program is designed to help companies move from ideas to validated use cases to scalable solutions, and this is supported by funding. So today, we'll hear directly from those who have been doing this work inside their large organizations and how they've structured innovation, collaborated with startups, and are creating real business value. So, without further ado, let me introduce to you our panelists for today. We have Alex Chi. Alex is the Chief Information Officer at SP Setia Berhad. We also have Monji. He is the associate partner at Antler. And Monji for Antler is actually the venture building partner for SP Setia for the big program. So we'll hear from them. And we also have Nafiul Islam, and we just call him Nafi. So he's the head of Group Technology Planning and Future Networks at E.co, Sdn Bhd. Okay, so let's just get straight into it. So the first question actually I wanted to ask is, what does innovation mean to your organization, and why have you decided to join Big? So maybe let's start with Alex.
Hi everyone, sound check. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. All right. Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you, Cradle. Thank you, Bursa, for organizing this and having me together with the panelists. Happy to share some of the experience that we have. To your questions, Samra, innovations, what does that mean to us? I think, innovation in Satya isn't about shiny text or fancy jargon. For us, it's about solving a real problem better, faster, and hopefully, with cheaper cost and also more efficient optimized costing or investment. Innovation in SP sector basically means solving a real business problem, with clarity and the discipline. Of course, with the measurable outcome, not just the output. So for me, for us, it's about the value, the velocity, and the impact. So hopefully with that, we want to improve the customer experience, the quality of our product, operational efficiencies, and of course, is sustainable for a long-term resilience. So just a bit about before big, right? What is innovation for us? We have definitely pockets of innovations. We have a lot of improvement ideas, but it was fragmented across the different BU, different teams. Everybody is trying, right? Everybody trying, but we don't have a common language of a shared rhythm to drive the innovations together, to join the synergy together and drive for bigger impact. Which I think we joined big because we need a structure, a repeatable framework, and less external catalyst to accelerate the experimentation that we have. That's the innovation for us.
Great, thank you, Alex. Let's hear from Nafi.
Thank you, Samira, Cradle, and Bursa for inviting me to this show. I think innovation, where we see from E.co, is when you have a social impact to any project that you do. If you have social impact, at the same time, you yourself are supporting the core business verticals that you have. I think these were our focus for last 3 years, because what I can still remember is in 2023, we had a 3-year innovation strategy or roadmap that we carved out for ourselves. So these innovation journeys started with mostly innovation contests, incubating idea within the organizations, within our own organization. So we call this idea, the contest Innovate, starts with an E. So we started this program in 2023, and we said that if each year as we progress, we have seen an increment of ideas. In the first year, we saw 40 to 45 ideas. In 24, we saw more than 75 ideas, and now in 25, we have seen 100 plus ideas. But the problem is having enough idea is not a problem. You can have ideas. But what we felt that what the hand holding that is required to turn those ideas into reality or push it to the productization zone, that is the difficult part. That's something what we have seen throughout our journey. In the first 1 or 2 years, in 2023 and 24, we have seen, as we all call that, innovation can be of two types. One is incremental innovation, and one is moonshot or radical innovation. So incremental innovation is like you actually improve a certain process within an organization. You come up with a new type of material. You come up with a new type of tool that helps your internal processes. But as John was mentioning, that what's the value, incremental value that you get out of those ideas when you productize? That's something we have seen is really difficult. And when we went on to a third cohort of our internal innovation contest, we have seen that kind of moonshot ideas coming up. But before big, also we see that we really didn't have that support system, and as we know that there are certain hurdles inside any corporate organizations in Malaysia or in Southeast Asia. Just to name a few are the sourcing process, selection process. These are quite extensive in nature and for the right reasons also. Fund allocation, business case approval, these kind of processes take a long time. But when you actually try to work out these issues with local startup ecosystem, if sort of an NDA, MOU, or any sort of collaboration, if it takes time, then you lose the momentum. I think these are the areas that we have worked on. We have a stable innovation council and full support from our boardroom, where our C-level executives are chairing the innovation council within our organization. So I was just sharing about the journey. In the third year, it's a very I would say at the right time we got the invite from Cradle team to join the workshop, the workshop that I think now it's a call for action for all the GLCs and PLCs. During that period, we felt that we would have the right support system if we can join the program. So we have taken our journey throughout the incremental innovation phases so that we know our internal teams are capable of carrying out incremental innovation. But we really didn't know that if we can go for a moonshot, if we have the right support system. I think after joining the workshop, we felt confident. Our team felt confident that yes, we have the right support system at our disposal, and at the same time, we have the venture builders who can support us and guide us through this journey of corporate innovation. So I think this journey has it's a long journey. It's a long journey that we have taken back in 2023. But in 2025, it came into fruition when we got into the Bengkel Inovasi GLC program, and we hope to continue this. And yeah, that's how I see our journey.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Nafi. Let me go back to Alex. Maybe you can share a bit about your company's innovation challenge and how has the program helped you in building this solution?
Yeah, I think I would like to echo what Nafi said. I think the challenge that we are having, similar to many companies here probably, right, is we are not lacking of ideas, right? It's like how we actually can validate the ideas fast and also have a way to actually structure the ideas to validate, to understand the early ROI and whether it's a worth to go about it or not. So the challenge is about validation, for the early ideation. Okay, we are making decisions based on the assumption, then that probably will slow us down if we continue to do that, right? But the big program actually has kind of flipped the script for us. So it forced us to begin with the real pain points. Right? So we have to talk to the users, talk to the business first. Then after that, we have to gather evidence, and together with Antler, right? We able to see the early evidence to make sure that actually is worth doing that. It's a real problem, real pain point that we are doing, and using the right formula itself to get closer to the evidence that we see it as a proof to execute, I would say, right? To actually really uh, propose and execute it. So we can actually test early. Then, this is something that I find it is the challenge that we are able to face using the big push. Another thing is about the how to make the team talk to each other, right? Because before this, everybody is very much try to be very much focused on their improvements and try to innovate um, by actually missing out the opportunity to interact and come up with a bigger um, ideation or come up with a bigger impact. I think this is the big issue. Now we managed to form a squad that different working level, different function within the BU, they come together, try to actually solve a problem, a bigger problem that everybody is trying to actually solve before, but now everybody come together. So I think now we have a better way to do it. So the challenge that we have, like we have solution waiting for problem. Now BIG has helped us to identify the problem first and working towards the solution.
Okay. All right. So since Alex has mentioned working with Antler, let's go to Monji. So from a venture builder's perspective, how do you actually bridge the corporate needs with startup solutions, and how do you work with SP Setia on this?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me, Samira and all. First, quick word about Antler. Yes, Antler, we are venture capital, right? So we're the most active early stage venture capital in the world, present in Malaysia, which makes us see early innovation happen from all over the world. But what we've seen recently is that corporates struggle sometime on how to integrate that innovation within their organizations. Corporates and startups are working at very, very different speeds. Corporates like to move fast, startups like to move fast, break things, while corporates like to protect things. And our job is exactly trying to bridge that gap, right? So how do we do that, right? It's hard work. It's a lot of work, definitely. I would say number one is like what Alex mentioned, right? It's start with the problem. It's not start with the solutions and the technology. And I see a lot of corporates that come to me and they are like, oh, I want to do this, or I want to implement AI. And I'm like, okay, which pain points are you trying to solve, right? So it's very important to start with the problems and the pain points from the corporate side to really understand what are you trying to solve. And when you define the pain points, to work with your business unit. Don't work with your business unit at the end of the program on when you've identified a startup or a solution to implement, but at the beginning, from the get-go, right? So like Samira, you mentioned, and John, you mentioned, you're going to do those problem statement workshop at the beginning. So that's very important to do, right? And finding the right pain points, not the right technology. That's number one. Number two, I think when we have that and we help SP Setia define the problem statement, make them like startup ready, is finding the right solutions out there, right? So there's millions of startups out there. Finding a startup is easy. Like everybody can do that. You can buy a pitch book license. You can go through thousands of startups, and finding a startup is easy. Finding the right one is hard, right? And that's about like putting in place a process and to identify the right startup, the right outreach. When we did that with SP Setia, I think I reached out to more than 2,000 startups. And then we had 130 that applied from all over the world. And then now we're doing 6 POCs with them. But finding the right startup with the right intent on their side also. What's their maturity? What's their funding? Do they have a product which is working? Are they able to localize that to our region, right? Is very important, right? And those one-on-one discussions with the startup is very important. So that's the second thing. And when you have the third thing is when you have all that, right, is that how do you wrap this all in a structured and time-bound program? Which is what I think Nafi and Alex mentioned, is like how do you test fast and move fast? fail fast and scale fast also. But you need to have a structured program. And that's why I think what you're doing at Cradle with the BIG program is great, right? Because you put structures around that and you go away from the innovation theaters. There's so many innovation theaters where startup comes, they present to executives, you put a t-shirt, you feel great, you've talked to startups and all that, but then nothing happens. So how do you go away from that? You need to structure programs. Our approach when we work with Setia, like in 3 months, we define problem statements. We identify more than thousands of startups, 130 apply. Then we had 6 and we sign a POC agreement with them to start testing. So it's not just like, okay, let's start working together, but it's about like, okay, we have a POC agreement and enter contract on behalf of SP Setia. Because we understand that as PLCs and government companies, sometimes your procurement process can be long and tedious, right? So putting that in place is very important with clear delivery plans, clear framework, clear timelines, so that the startups also knows what to achieve and what the success looks like. So I think those are the 3 things we see on how to bridge that. Start with the problems, identify the right startups and have a structured bond program. And what you're doing here in the BIG program is helping de-risking that for corporates, which I think is great, right? Because with the one-to-one matching, you de-risk it. And then we help to bring the structure so that this doesn't only remain a program or project for the company, but becomes like a new innovation operating system. So a new way to do innovation sustainably and repeatedly in your organization.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Monji. Let's ask Nafi. So for E.co, what have you found to be the most effective approach in identifying the right collaborators for this?
I think we do have our standard processes for selecting the right partners for the program, right stakeholders who we can be in touch with. I think then again, we start with the problem statement. We have to start with the problem statement, and I think that the program workshop helped us quite a lot because we had that problem statement, but we have spent 1 day of structured process with you with Cradle, and we really chalked out few actionable items that what we want to do, what do we want to do with that problem statement that we have. So it came up with a clear statement that okay, I would like to we would like to build a decision intelligence platform and a data marketplace, which is our problem in the solution statement. Solution. So from the solution statement, we then mapped out what are our available assets that we have that can be leveraged into the project or to the program, and what are we missing, what are the gaps in the market, and we try to scout in the market that who are the service providers, the startups, government agencies who really have that capabilities. And at the same time, we needed to map the supply and demand part, because when you are building a product or a tool, you need to make sure that we also validate our solution, and we need to also check back that if the problem statement is relevant outside our organization or not. Maybe because otherwise it will be only focused to the GLC or to the PLC or to the organization itself. But a moonshot, being a moonshot idea, one of the criteria is it has to have a wider impact to the other organizations, to the society. And at the same time, another interesting thing that we found out that when we broadcasted our solution statement and problem statement, we have seen that other GLCs who are participating in the program has also something to offer to us. For the examples of things you have seen in the socials, that we have been in touch with Senviro, which is a GLC and a participating GLC in big program. And we have seen there are a lot of areas where we can cross collaborate. So it is an extensive process. It is an extensive process, and we sometimes have to follow in internal processes in some cases. But in this case, our venture builder is also supporting us in scouting for the right startups. Yeah.
Great. You mentioned about working with another partner in the cohort itself. How do you think being part of a cohort has sort of helped in any way in your journey?
I think that there's uh, we are 8 GLCs, right? So there's a sense of brotherhood that we feel that we are going through the same process, and we are each of us, every one of us, are taking the similar steps. And when we discuss with each other, when we found out that actually the problems that we face are quite similar, and maybe one of us has solved it, so we try to help each other. I think that's the spirit of this program also. And we feel that when we try to scout out for the solutions in the market, maybe a part of it is already solved by another GLC. So why not just integrate it and then get support from them? Or even we found out that there are areas where each of the GLCs can cross pollinate. That's the term I've learned from Ashif. That we can cross pollinate to find out new ideas and come out with new products, services that are beneficial for the society and for the businesses itself, because it is, as a GLC, we also have a responsibility towards to the people, towards the society, and we are trying our best to make it happen. Yeah. Samira.
Yeah. Thank you. That sounds great, actually. So for Alex, I just wanted to ask for SP Setia, what has changed internally and externally since joining Big? Was there anything that you needed to sort of unlearn during this journey?
Thanks for the question, Samira. I think the thing for me, the quite significant change, even we are just few months down the road, right? Is the mindset. First is the mindset. I can see quite obvious my team, especially my team, right, and also the BU. We all become more curious, right? We are more data driven now, right, and we more open to experimentation, because in the past itself is we have to really like talk about um, uh, RFP, right? Request for proposal from the vendor itself. Now we are talking, even we have to reverse pitch together with venture builder, right? To enter, right? In this case itself, to invite the right startup to work with us. So on that case itself is very much different compared to the conventional way that we are actually putting our problem there, or just invite a solution from the loan vendors, right? Then we actually are waiting them to pitch for us. Second is about collaboration. So I think you can see all actually starting more closer now, right? Because the framework actually has actually encouraged and in a way to push us to do so. So we are working to do the corporate innovations operating system installation, I call it. What that means is basically we actually design the how we actually can sustain the innovations beyond this big program itself, to make sure that we can we come up with a structure, a process, and even a governance, right, to make sure that how this thing can sustain. So that for us to work towards that is how we already have a cadence and also a rhythm for everybody to start working together. So I think this is what I see in terms of how this big program encourage the internal collaboration as well as the external partnership with the startups, right? And then I think the external wise itself, we hopefully become more visible to the ecosystem, especially the startup and the venture ecosystem. So people start seeing us as serious innovation players. Right? It's not just another property developer trying out new things. So this thing, I believe, this visibility uh, to the ecosystem players and also the government partners through Cradle itself, that actually give us some significant changes over the past few months. Yeah.
Thank you. I also remember just now Monji mentioned about innovation theaters. Yeah. So I just wanted to go in a bit about that as well. How would you sort of identify which collaboration would actually scale the solution and what would actually just be, nice to have experiments, but it actually stalls the innovation? Yeah, Monji.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for asking that, right? Yes, innovation theaters happens a lot in the industry, right? And I think we do those programs all over the world. Everyone has the right intent, right? But they do not realize the efforts which are required. So what makes a collaboration scale versus stall, right? So I would say number one is what Alex mentioned, is intent, right? But intent needs to come not only from the BUs, but directly from the top. I think like strong sponsorship and intent that you really want to do that and work with startups to co-develop solutions to improve your business operations, to increase your revenues, decrease your cost, but not just as a CSR program, right? Because I think I've seen people doing that just as a CSR program or just as a PR program. So intent from the C-suite and the business unit is very important, and embedding those business units as part of the process from day one. Number two, intent is great, but if you don't have the process and building the structured engine, it just doesn't work, right? What do I mean by that? It means like in innovation theaters, like the startup presents to the corporate, then nothing happens. And I talk sometimes to startups, right? They're like, and you'll be surprised. You build a reputation in the industry, right? To basically lose time for startups. And they're like, I don't want to work with those guys. I presented to them 6 months ago. They never replied, right? And then nothing happens. And we are a venture capital. We invested by Kazana, right? So if startup lose times, right? So then the investors are not happy, right? So I think having a clear structure, scope, and structure engine is very important. What does that mean? It means like when we do a showcase with startup, we sign POC agreement with clear delivery plan so that the startup know exactly what they need to do in the next 3 months to make it a success. What are the KPIs? What's the structure? Who are the people that are going to do that? Yes, there's a lot of efforts, but that's the second thing I think that makes a big difference. And then last but not least, I think John mentioned that is how do we bring that beyond POCs, right? How do we change that? How do we make change to the entire industry? How do we scale that into our organizations? So the last key learning is during the POCs, already start to think beyond the POCs, meaning like involve other business units, involve other partners, such as Nafi mentioned, right? Collaborators to think how can this solution can even go beyond my business units? How can I maybe white label something I do for me to now bring it to the industry in Malaysia, right? And create new revenue streams for myself on top of solving some of my business problems and challenge. So I think those are three very important things. Usually it stalls when there is no owners, no KPIs, no pathway to scale. And that's why we're trying to solve here. And I have to thank you again, right, to put this program in place so that we can de-risk and provide that.
Thank you. Very, very interesting feedback there, all the key learnings. I think that's very useful as well. So, okay, I'll just go to the last question for this panel. So if you were advising another corporate who's thinking about innovation, what would you tell them? Let's start with Alex.
Thanks, Amira. I think first thing is don't think about perfection. Okay, because you know that how corporate work is how we are looking at a polished PowerPoint with all the plan, one or things like that. But then of course that is important, but most important is we start first, right? We start with the end in mind. That is very important. That changed how we actually work in the past. And then another thing is I think it's about how we actually expect the ROI, because in the company we all talk about ROI, right? So innovations, how we actually measure ROI. So that part itself is has to be beyond the financial ROI. We have to talk about the impact, right? The experience, and those things itself. I believe through the corporate innovations methodologies and approach itself, they've given a different perspective to invite the management and even the board to look at the ROI differently how we're actually going to do this, right? And then go back to my first segment itself is about like, start with the pain point, not the technologies. Even I'm a technologist, right? Because that is very important with all the AI technologies and also the changes that we face every day itself, right? We are not chasing technologies, right? Because speed is too fast, but we need to be very much prepared on how is this pain points, opportunities, or challenge that we face can be addressed or disrupted by these new technologies. Okay. And then in terms of people side, we have to talk about, we build the capabilities, right? We are not just complete another IT project. That is important for me because IT project, we have a start and end, right? Even for big project, we also have start and end. But the thing is, I think the spirit of this is that actually Cradle come into pictures to actually support the GLCs and the companies is to build capabilities that actually can sustain and can continue to run and bring a bigger impact to the society. I think that is something that I believe is very important. And then, like what Mondi mentioned, so get the leadership sponsorship early. That is very much non-negotiable because we need to have that they covered so that we can have this thing being able to go down to all level and then get the organization right to come together, right? That's why my CEO is keep on mentioning that we have to test fast and then scale fast to let more people to involve them from the start, so that actually we'll get the buy-in from the early stage that everybody will find it like it's not a experiment in the lab itself and only involve certain people, but we need to get more people to involve so that everybody is aware, right? Innovation is not a department. It's not only by my department or my division only. It's a habit, it's a culture, it's a way of working, so that everybody can come together. That's my 2 words that I want to share today. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good advice. And Nafi, if you could give one piece of advice to PLCs considering joining the next cohort of Big, like what would you tell them?
I think I'll echo with Alex here. I think you have to define your North Star first, and then carve your path according to it. I think what I would advise is first of all, the workshop is very interesting. You try to attend the workshop. You don't need to have $1 million idea at this point of time. Rather, you need to have a real problem statement that you can work out through the workshop itself. I think for the organization, innovation once upon a time is part of the theater. It's part of the support system. So if you innovate, then it's really nice. It looks nice on you. But now it's a question of survival, I would say, for all of the organizations operating in this region or any other region. I think innovation has to be in your DNA. Otherwise, you'll be able to you'll see that there are difficulties that you face for not innovating continuously. So incremental innovation is you have to make it a practice. But if you want innovation to really give you a sustainable business that has wider impact, then I would say you have to think of moonshot, and definitely this program will be able to support you. Or in this process, if any of the fellow GLCs or PLCs, you feel that any support that you need, please feel free to reach out to edotco Group. Myself and my team is there to support you guys with if any information or guidance required. And definitely, Cradle team is there. So yeah, that would be my piece of advice.
Thank you so much, Nafi. So, okay, it's the end of the panel. I just want to thank you to Nafi, to Monji, to Alex for being here with us today. Also want to thank Bursa for having us. Yeah, so you've heard how innovation and BIG works for all these companies, and I'm sure you'll benefit from joining the program too. And with that, I will pass it back to Meichi. Over to you, Meichi.
Hi, thank you, Amira. Is my screen on? Yep. Okay, thank you for the insightful panel discussion and the presentation by Jonathan earlier. After hearing the presentation and the panel discussion, it's truly impressive of how Cradle Fund actually fund these innovations for these companies, but also not only funding them, but also providing support in terms of navigating, any regulatory hurdles. So I strongly encourage all participants here to take full advantage of this opportunity, since we have the Cradle team here with us today to have, if you have any burning questions, again, I would like to encourage the participants here to put in your questions for any burning questions that you have. You can put in the question box here. Yeah, so I've seen that in the question and answer box there were a few questions, but it was already answered by Jonathan here. But maybe I can repeat those questions for those who may not be aware of the responses here.
Yeah, Meichi.
Yeah,
Sorry, Meichi, there's the new question that just
I
been
see.
submitted. So
Right.
yeah, I don't mind taking
Maybe
it
you
live.
sure,
Yeah.
sure. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so SH Khan, thank you very much for your question. There's 4 questions and I'll answer them in accordance lah. Yeah, the program development period is 1 year. Subsequently, we'll monitor the project for another year. So whilst the funding program takes 12 months, once the project has been completed, we will still continue to monitor the project for a subsequent year. So in total, there will be 24 months for the entirety of the project itself. So I hope that answers your question number 1. How involved are the stakeholders during the program in terms of man hours, weekly, monthly? It depends on which stakeholders you engage with. Like, for example, how Setia engage with Enter, they do work on a regular basis. Almost every week, Monji will be at SB Setia's office to assist them. The different stakeholders will come in and assist differently, right? So, for example, at Cradle, because we are a government agency, we can access other agencies in the government to support. So, E.co, for example, for their project, they do work with the Department of Environmental, and with Department of Environment. And because of this engagement, Cradle was able to come in and support and connect them to the relevant people to ensure that, certain sort of like approvals are received before the project moves ahead. So different stakeholders will come in and play different role. How active are these stakeholders depends on how you engage with them. So Setia will have a commercial agreement with Antler in terms of our engagement with the GLCs that are being funded is as per the required support of the GLCs themselves lah. So GLCs, some of them may not require so much support from us, then they can run on their own. We are happy to sort of take a step back as well. For question number 3, under economic impact with AI going mainstream, we are expected to reduce significant employment adopting, while under one of your guideline is to increase employment. Please clarify this guideline. This is a very good question. Technology will always disrupt industry, right? We don't believe in technology just removing jobs. We also believe in technology creating new jobs, right? So AI will disrupt every industry, like it or not, but it's those individuals that are upskilled and is able to use AI to their advantage that will stay in their jobs. So normally when I talk to companies that are adopting AI, we also talk to the companies about upskilling their talent to become strong knowledge workers, right? If you don't have this, then you will be disrupted. Your business and your industry will be disrupted. So the key is not to fear AI, but to use AI to your advantage and to focus also on upskilling your talent within your organization to be able to address this technology. It will not, like AI will not remove jobs overnight. it will take some time. But whilst you have this time, the upskilling of the talent is extremely important. Again, you want people to be able to be adaptable to the new technology that is coming to the forefront, right? Um, Automation, for example, if you look at manufacturing, they have actually disrupted a lot of job employments, particularly those that require manual, sort of like human intervention. But there are still people working in manufacturing where they are running the automation itself, right? So these people have been upskilled to still continue on the employment side. Their role have changed, the scope have expanded quite a bit, maybe, but these are all important factors to take into consideration when you are actually adopting new technology into your organization. Yeah, I hope that again clarify the questions that you have. And then last but not least, are there any notable expenses associated to a program that are tax deductible? The grant itself is tax deductible, or the grant itself, I should say, is tax free, right? Subsequently, whatever you spend are subject to tax. So there's no escaping that. So if you are purchasing, say, a service or a hardware that is required for the development, yeah, there will be tax associated with that, unfortunately. So again, I hope that answers the question. SH. But feel free, if you have any more questions, also feel free to, email us at big@cradle.com.my if you have any questions that you are not comfortable sharing here. There's another couple more questions. How many PLCs are expected to join the program? I am aiming for around 6 to 10 companies, but it's again on a first come, first serve basis, right? Although I can offer up to 2 million per company, not all companies will take the full 2 million. So in my current cohort with 8 companies, there are companies who are only applying for 500,000, 1 million ringgit. Of course, there are companies that will apply for the full 2 million ringgit as well. So it depends. Again, it's first come, first serve. If a lot of the pioneer applicants are applying for the full 2 million ringgit, then I will have less companies to fund. But if they don't apply for the full 2 million ringgit, then I will have more companies to fund. But my target is between 6 to 10 companies next year. Okay. And then we have one last final question. I'm also cognizant of time. The question goes, if we participate, do we need to disclose our participation in the program? Yes, because we will shout about it. We will tell the world that you are a cohort member. There will be media coverage. So yeah, unfortunately, you will have to, disclose your participation. And just to tie all of this back to you guys as public listed companies, right? I have a short stint in investor relation in the past. In my experience, my very short experience and limited experience, what I realized was investors who like to invest in the company that I was with love to hear about new projects, new development that are happening in the forefront. Now, why do they like this? Is because it builds investor confidence, right? So if you are a public listed company today, right, and you're working on interesting project, you should shout about it, right? Because that will help build investor confidence, who will eventually then maybe buy more shares of your company. So that is just my thought process and my 2 cents. I mean, not everyone will share that sentiment, but I'm always optimistic. If you are working on something new, you should, number one, shout about it. Number two, bring in partners who are aligned to what you want to achieve, right? To help you get there. So again, with that, I hope you guys will be interested in the program. Do visit our website, scan the QR code, or email us at big@cradle.com.my. We will love to address more of your burning questions. So with that, back to you, Meichi.
Yeah, thank you. So, given the interest of time, we will close this session. Thank you everyone for for joining us today. We hope this session has given you valuable insights into how a big program foster innovation and strengthening Malaysia's economic competitiveness. Big thank you to the Cradle team as well and our panelists for sharing their experiences and the lessons learned. We encourage all PLCs to explore opportunities with the Cradle team and take advantage of the resources and the support available. If you would like to learn more, please reach out to us or Cradle Fund directly. You can scan the QR code on your screen for more details. And thank you again for your participation. And we look forward to seeing you in our next IR4U session. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Samira. Thank you, Cradle. Thank you, Firdaus and Bursa team.